I don't like waiting for people that are late. I linked you guys to a bunch of things inside of our Discord chat here, and we're going to be using these in just a few minutes. Okay? Most importantly, I linked you guys to this thing right here. Okay? Can you guys all open this for me, please? Open up Discord and take a look at this website for me. It's just an application that I built this morning. What are we looking at, guys? It's news. These are news articles. They have authors, photos, titles, published dates, as well as descriptions of what's going on. We're going to be implementing this application using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's look through some slides because I want you guys to have a high-level overview of how all these components fit together. Okay? So I know that you guys have already moved sort of quickly, gotten to Flask, but just know that HTML is the structure of our application. Okay? CSS is the style, and JavaScript is the behavior. What a web application can do. In this case, a web application. Obviously, there are many other types of applications. Okay? So I like to think of HTML as the bones, CSS as the paint job, JavaScript as the features. What it can do? Turn on the lights, for example. What can people do? Raise their hand, all types of stuff. It's a real programming language. I know that you guys have already moved into Python, so you already know what it is. These slides are from my other class. I apologize. This one takes a lot more thinking, okay? It's a real programming language. As in, it's Turing complete. That's what the name is. Next week, we're not going to be talking about JavaScript. You guys are going to be learning about other stuff, okay? Move forward, skip this. Skip this one. So the most important thing right now we're going to talk about today is just variables, okay? What's a variable, guys?
Variable is the one we need to find.
It's what we need to find?
Yeah.
Exactly. A variable can be simply thought of as a box or a container. It holds something. Okay, it can hold many different types of things, and we can have as many different containers as we want. In JavaScript, this is our variable declaration right here. One second. This is one of 3 potential variable declarations. Let days equal 7. Okay? And you can think of it as being like a truck. In this illustration, it's a truck. For example, our variable days is holding a number 7 inside of it. Okay? It's like a bucket. That might be another good example. A bucket can hold shrimp. I think that's the shrimp. Yeah. A cat, or even some fruits. And our buckets can have names. Okay? Another way I also like to think of it is as being a bookmark. Okay? It's just like we bookmark this piece of data, and we're going to use it later. Okay? We're going to bookmark it and save it for later. In JavaScript, there are many different types of data. Obviously, you guys have dealt with Python, so you know this, right? Numbers are not the same things as strings, okay? And there are many, many different types of data. I like to think of data types as being different types of fruits, okay? So for example, if I walked in here with an apple, I wish I had done that today, and I gave it to you, you guys could eat it, right? Who here can eat an apple? Yeah? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Men can eat an apple. Super easy. You hold it, you bite it, right? Right? But what if I gave you an orange? Could you hold an orange and bite it? If you're a little crazy. Okay, what about a pineapple? Could you hold a pineapple and bite into it?
No.
Why?
The cover is not eatable.
Yeah, it's not edible. So even though fruits are all the same type of thing, they hold seeds. With fruits, we can make new types of plants, or not make. We can get what it takes to make a new plant. Ultimately, they're actually kind of different, right? A pineapple, the outer container of it is not edible, so you need to treat it differently than you would an apple, right? Seems pretty clear. Same thing with our data types over here as illustrated right here, okay? And you guys are gonna see examples of this in just a few moments, okay? Today we're gonna primarily be focusing on functions. I don't know, we'll look at functions depending on how class goes, okay? The most important function that you guys are probably going to need to look at, god damn, is the console.log, okay? So, just so that you know, console right here is an object. Inside of this object, there is a key called log, and that is a function. Inside of that key, there is a value, which is a function. And that function can be fired. It can be called. It can be called with an argument. We'll see an example in just a few minutes, okay? Obviously, just like any programming language, JavaScript has conditionals, okay? If this is true, do that. If not, do something else. If something is true, do something. Else, do something different. Simple enough. Concept 3 is functions. You guys have all written functions for your Flash applications. These functions were mapped to a specific route. When you went to a route in your browser, it would fire a specific function, and that function would execute and just do some code. A function is a series of instructions to do something. You can call that function. I know this seems really abstract, but we're going to see an example in just a second, guys. Functions may have many arguments. Unlike Python, in JavaScript world, if you call a function without the appropriate arguments, it can still fire, okay? JavaScript is good about not crashing. It's notorious for its ability to silently fail, which means that it executes but does not throw an error message. It just keeps going. That's both a good and a bad thing, obviously. When we call a function, we do it by using parentheses, okay? You guys can tell that a variable contains a function by these parentheses right here. Right there. Okay? All right, so enough of abstract stuff. Once again, this is the application we're going to be building, okay? You guys see a link to it? Please play around with it for a moment and get a feel for what we see here. It's just basically a list of news articles, okay? And they all these, obviously these articles all have some type of data with them, associated with them, right? In programming, we're almost always dealing with a list of something. Every single application in the world, you're dealing with a list of something, right? So if you look at Facebook as an example, right? Let's go to Loy. Let's look at photos. So here's a list of photos, right? There's a list of photos. If you go to my timeline, you can see a list of posts, right? And each post is a list of comments, right? And we click this button right here, this link right here, it pops up a modal, and we see a list of friends that have reacted to a specific, in a certain way. Here's all of them. Here's the ones that have reacted with the like. Here's the ones that have reacted with the heart. Here's the ones that have reacted with a wow. I think it's called a wow, okay? So we're going to be doing a contrived example in just a moment. Just so you guys know, I took the time this morning to link you guys to something. There's only 2 people who have been professional software developers, right? Michael and Yum, right? Anyone else here has been a professional software developer before? And men, okay, obviously men, okay? So let me give you guys a piece of advice, okay? Let me give you a piece of advice, okay? And I'm pretty sure this is true. From my experience, this is true. When your technical lead, your CTO, or someone gives you a link to something, if you do not click it, if you call that person over for help after they've linked you to something, and you say you don't know what you're doing, they're gonna be very upset with you. Okay, is that clear? Like your CTO, your technical lead, they took the time to give you a link. They Googled for you, and they sent you a link in the chat. So I want you guys, because yesterday, for example, I don't know how many of you guys, I said, hey, why don't you have this document open? I linked you to it. And a bunch of you guys, I'm not mad at you, but I'm telling you right now that if you guys keep doing that, people are going to wonder why you're working there. And if your CTO, if that's the CTO, they might decide that they don't want you working there anymore. I guarantee you, the person that makes the decision on whether or not to hire you, who has that type of power to pay you the money that you want to get paid, can in fact fire you if you don't do a good job. I guarantee it. Shit, I'm not even a CTO, and I can hire some people here, as well as fire people, if I wanted. Not bragging, I'm just saying, that's the reality that we face, okay? So please look at these links. Okay, I gave you a short description here. We're gonna be using every one of these today, every single one of them. I'm not gonna point them out every single time we use them, but I want you guys to look at them and read the short description I gave, because they're all useful. And just so you guys know a little bit about me, every single day when I go home after class, I watch my lecture again. Okay? I'm sitting there, I'm eating dinner, I'm watching my lecture, and I'm thinking about whether or not I made a mistake. So for example, yesterday, at the very beginning of class, when I started the lecture, I said, hey, you guys need to incorporate Font Awesome. You need to add this link to the top of your head tag. And a lot of you guys did not do that, okay? I'm not trying to be mean here, I'm just trying to tell you what the reality is, okay? Okay, so let's get going. I'm gonna leave this open. I have a proxy, I have a tunnel, which allows you guys to access this application that I've developed locally. But let's forget about that right now, okay? I'm going to be on my desktop, and we're gonna create a new directory. We're gonna call it Google News. We're gonna move into it, okay? We're gonna open up our code editor. As you can see, we just created this folder. We don't have anything in it, okay? So we need to do more. We need to create these files right here. This is the bare minimum of what you guys can do to create a real HTML website, okay? So I'm gonna create all these files, and you guys can see that all of these folders were created, or all these files were created, okay? I'm gonna create a new folder, I'm gonna call it hello. You guys can see that hello, it's the standard icon right here, the folder icon. Why is that? Because VS Code is not expecting a folder by that name. But if we create a new folder and we call it JS, then you guys can see that we get a special icon right here. That's because VS Code, this is such a common folder that is used that they took the time to give us an icon to help us visually understand what is inside of that, okay? So these are required. These are not required, but this is the typical way that you guys will encounter it in the wild. I mean, that means that like whenever you guys go work at a company, you're gonna see a folder called JS, I guarantee it, if you work for a front-end application. So we're gonna create another one called CSS, and once again, our CSS folder has a special icon. So I'm gonna drag my styles.css into that folder. And I'm gonna drag my scripts.js into the JS folder. So our index.html, what do we gotta do here, guys? Obviously, we need to put something in there, right? So we're gonna do HTML5 template. And once again, I always use the one from SitePoint. I don't know if it's the best one, it's just the one I always use. Seems to get the job done. So we're gonna jump back to our index.html. We're going to save it. We're gonna change some stuff here. We're gonna say Google News, and then we're gonna check our application. So I'm gonna run Command P, greater than sign, and then open with live server. Okay, so we see that everything looks okay, and we see Google News up here in our tab. All right, so let's go ahead and add a title so that we understand what's going on, okay? So in my body tag, okay? Remember, anything that we want to render to the screen needs to be nested within the body tag. This is the body of the page, okay? So I'm gonna put an H1, I'm gonna say Google News. We save it, we jump back over here, we do in fact see our Google News. Now, once again, I'm gonna talk about this carefully again, okay? I want you guys to smoke test your applications as you're going, you know? I don't know how many times I saw this happen yesterday as well. I don't know whether or not the style sheet has been included yet. That's the truth. I cannot, obviously I think it has, but I need to test, okay? That's what we do as software developers. We're constantly testing as we go. So in order to test to make sure that our style sheets have been properly incorporated, we're going to open up our styles, okay? And then we're gonna apply a style to any element that we can just to prove whether or not this file has been incorporated. So I always like doing the body tag. I'm gonna do background color and say red. If this file has been incorporated correctly, has been imported into our index.html correctly, I expect that the body should turn red. This is a smoke test, okay? I know not everyone here is a native English speaker, but that means it's like a saying that means if you have smoke, you have to have fire, okay? So we're looking for smoke so that we know that we have fire. So I'm gonna jump back over to our UI, and yes, we see the smoke. right? So by the fact that we see the red background, we have proven that the CSS file has been applied to our application. All right. So additionally, how can we do the same thing for our scripts.js file? Well, we're going to smoke test it again, okay? And I'm going to do something called console.log. For all of you guys who are in Python, you had something that was like print, and you'd say like hello, blah, 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 okay? In JavaScript, that's not called print. It's called console.log, okay? So we're going to say hello, Fansipan. If this works correctly, my expectation is that when we open up our inspector and we look at the console, we should see something logged to the screen. And do we see that log to the screen? What do we see on the screen, guys? Men, what's that on the screen right there? What am I hovering my mouse over? Where did that come from?
Script.js.
Okay, and how did that execute? Why did this execute?
Just take the script and the script source.
What line of code are we talking about here?
Yeah, you got the 17.
Line 17, correct. Line 17, the script grabbed that scripts.js file and incorporated it into our index.html. So when index.html loaded to the screen, scripts.js was incorporated and then that function executed. That function executed, okay? So that's not really that useful. So we're just gonna leave that there right now, okay? So I'm gonna show you some black magic, okay? So we're gonna go back to these links that I linked to, and we're just going to add some stuff, okay? So right here is, once again, like I said, this is where we import some stuff from a CDN, okay? So let's just look at our HTML real quick. Look at this. We're gonna open up our code editor. Oops. Okay, so once again, guys, we want to paste this above our custom link tag right here, okay? So we're gonna paste, and if this worked correctly, I expect Google News to look a little bit differently, okay? You can think of Bootstrap as it's just like a series of libraries that automatically give us some free styles, okay? Because there's certain things that every single web application has, or almost every single web application has. So some developers before you, in fact, I'm gonna show you how many developers there are. Let's look at the GitHub repo for Bootstrap. We see that Bootstrap has had 66,000 people fork it. Can anyone help me out? What is a fork? What's a fork?
Some of the very popular GitHub in the internet, and also some tutorial on Python ranking from the good people, but there will not 100, more than 10,000. It's the first time I see that.
Okay. So kind of right. A fork is basically someone said, I really like this library. Please let me copy it and change it a little bit, and then I'll push it back into this repo. So what I'm trying to tell you is that 70,000 developers over the course of 10 years have built Bootstrap for you. I want you guys to use Bootstrap in your applications. Either Bootstrap or Material or Semantic or Bulma, some library. If you guys, just like you guys learned yesterday, writing CSS is actually kind of difficult. It's not difficult like lifting up a heavy rock, but it's difficult in time, and like it takes time. And as soon as we have additional requirements, it becomes much more difficult. So 70,000 developers have put their heads together and they built this for us. And then they gave us a link and they said you can use it for free. So I suggest you guys do that. Okay? So let's look at our Google News. Oop, not this one. Done this one. I'm going to save this file, and you guys are going to see Google News. The default styling is going to change just a little bit. I save it, and it did in fact change, right? Right? It changed. Okay, so that we smoke tested our Google, and we made sure that it works. Let's go back to our Discord. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and import Font Awesome. Why? Why am I doing this? Because I love icons. And it's not just me, guys. Your users love icons. It helps indicate to the user what's going on. Okay? So we import this icon. We import this library. Then we're going to go back to Discord. We're going to read some more. We're going to read some more. And we're also going to use something called moment.js. So I'm going to copy the script tag, and the script tags always go at the bottom, okay? Yeah, they go to the bottom. So I'm going to paste this one in. Moment.js is a library used specifically for formatting your dates, because it's almost impossible for you guys to do it correctly in every single different way that is required, man. Can you format in Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, English, Russian, French? How many different ways can you format a date? It's impossible. You guys need to use a library. I mean, I don't know if it's impossible. I'm just trying to say it's not a good use of your time. If you guys try to do that yourselves, you're wasting your effort. So we're going to look at moment documentation. I want you guys to look at this documentation and read it. Come on. So you guys can see that in Moment.js, there's a million different ways you can format it, okay? Look at these. So right now you guys can see that this is the function call, and like we call it a couple times, and it will format a date in a specific way. And I'm going to show you guys this in just a few moments, okay? So we incorporated Moment. In the Moment, I'm going to show you Postman as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to it. So we're going to go back to our page. And remember, we're doing Google News. We could potentially just hard code in some images and some posts and some articles and some comments and blah, blah, blah. But we do not want to do that. Why, guys? Young, why did we not want to hard code some news right here?
Because if we hard code it, then when we have latest news, we need to hard code again. That is waste of effort.
Exactly. We cannot hard code this because the news today is not the news the same thing as next week, right? I open up this application today. I expect that I'll see certain certain things, right? Let's think about this application. If I open up this application today, I should see different news articles than tomorrow. No one buys newspapers from last year. Has anyone here ever bought a newspaper from last year? No. News are things that are constant. They're constantly being updated. Okay? So this is why we're going to use JavaScript in just a moment to get this data. Okay? So I'm going to tell you guys there is a library, or no, there's not a library. There's an API. Okay? There's an API which we're going to use today called the newsapi.org. You sign up for it and you get a free API key. Okay?
What's an API?
An API is an application programming interface. It's how applications talk to each other. Okay? So you guys have sort of played around with APIs, kind of. Not really. Okay?
What is an API?
An API is how our web application can talk to an application that Google built. Okay? Our applications can talk to each other. Actually, there are many different types of APIs, if I'm going to be honest with you. But the ones that we're going to use right now, we're going to use one that's a web API, and this web API is going to give us JSON. Okay? Someone tell me what JSON is. Anyone know what JSON is? It's an acronym. It means JavaScript Object Notation. It's very, very similar to JavaScript objects. Now I think about it, I realize that you guys don't know what JavaScript is. So I'm going to figure that out in just a second, okay? All right, so, maybe I should give us a contrived example, okay? So let's just go ahead and go to our application. And guys, in this console right here, I want you guys to know that we can write JavaScript code right here, okay? We can write JavaScript code. So for example, I could do console.log, and I'll say, hello, Fansipan. If we fire that, we'll see that our behavior is correct, right? We log to our console, hello, Fansipan. We can also do 1 + 1. 1 + 1 is 2. This is where we're evaluating our JavaScript code, and it's giving us immediate feedback, okay? There's a lot of other things we can do, right? For example, with JavaScript, we can affect the behavior of our application. So for example, Google News. Let's go ahead and change that. We're going to call some built-in functions or some built-in objects which can do some stuff. And I want you guys to know that, like, by default, there are many, many useful objects that are provided to us for free, okay? So for example, let's console.log what console is. So if we do console.log console, we can see that it's this object right here. And inside of this object, we have a bunch of different keys. Okay? So let's go ahead and create a new object here and just play around with it, okay? So we're going to create an object called const class equal, oh shit, I can't do that one. Our class equals an object. So now we can do console.log our class. We can see that it's just an empty object. We have exactly no keys here. Okay? So if we want to define a new object or a new key on our class, we can just do our class. Oops, did I do that right? My bad. Our class. Can you guys see this? Kind of small, huh? Our class dot, let's say name, is equal to Fansipan. Okay, so now if we look at our class again, you guys can see that we have a key called name, and its value is Fansipan.
What's the equivalent between an object in Python? What's the equivalent?
So an object in Python and its equivalent inside of Python is called a dictionary. Okay, the dictionary has many keys. These keys, if you call those keys, it will output a value. How many keys do we have in our class? You, I don't know your name, I forgot. Hang. Okay, how many keys do we have in our class? Okay, so you're correct. Inside that name, we can get a value. What is the value? Yes, correct. So if we want to look at it, we can do our class dot name. And if we hit enter right now, we get the value. Additionally, we can do our class, and we can do this funny syntax with a bracket and stick in a string which indicates the key that we want. What is the key that we want? Name. The result is the same. Our class.name gives us Fansipan. Our class bracket string name also gives us Fansipan. Okay? The most useful thing about objects are that they can have as many keys as they want. Just like me. Okay? I can have as many girlfriends as I want, potentially, right? I have a girlfriend in America, a girlfriend in Vietnam, as many as I want. Right? So we'll do our class dot student count, for example. And we'll say, I don't know how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm just gonna say 12. I don't know if that's right or not. So now we can look at our class again, and we can see that we do in fact have 2 keys. Right? We have name that we were originally messing around with, and we also have student count. Okay? We're gonna give one more. We're gonna do our class dot main instructor is equal to min. Okay, so we've applied 3 keys to our object. We say our class, if we look at it, we have 3 keys, and we can expand it. So these keys, once again, if we wanted the instructor, we can do what, guys? Sandy, how can we get out the instructor out of our class?
Sorry, how can we get?
So our class is what? Our class right here, what is this right here?
Yeah. Okay.
It's an object. It has 3 keys, right?
Name, student, and main instructor.
What do we expect to have inside of main instructor?
Main.
A name?
Name.
Correct. So I want that. How can we do that?
Our class dot main instructor.
Nice. Okay, you have been paying attention. Nice. And we do get the value that we want. Someone tell me another way we can do this. How else can we get out the value? I'm sorry, I don't know your name either. I want the instructor's name. Can we get the instructor's name out of this object?
Bracket and main instructor.
Yes. And once again, we did this, okay? It's not that complicated, okay? It's pretty much just like Python. Pretty much the same. Okay, so we've messed around with objects. Just know that objects are probably one of the most useful. I don't know if it's the most useful. Everything is very useful. Everything is very important. I feel like in my other class, every single day I go to class and I tell them, this is really, really important. You got to know this, okay? Because pretty much all of it is important, okay? So let's just. I'm gonna open up my. Before we get moving forward, I'm sorry for those of you who are a little bit bored or this is so easy. We need to review this before we move forward. open up your VS Code and download this extension called Quokka. I don't know how to pronounce this. Do you know how to pronounce this? I've never known how to pronounce this. I really don't know how to do this, okay? When you download this plugin, right, you can create a new file, do Control or Command N, do Command P, your caret, and then type in Quokka. Afterwards, you'll see an option to do new file right here, okay? And you'll select JavaScript. Because we're working with JavaScript today. Okay? So now you can see that there's a console that's popped down at the very bottom, and we can play around with JavaScript right now, okay? So imagine that we had like this thing is just, it gives you immediate feedback, okay? That's what this tool does. It's like a scratch pad. You can write down stuff, okay? Imagine you're doing math, okay? And you want to write down 1 + 1 equals, you got to play around with these values. So for example, we're going to say const our class is equal to an object, and we're going to say, hey, it's going to be name is equal to Fansipan, and then its instructor is going to be min, and it's in students class, student count is going to be 17, for example. Okay? So let's see, we have a warning here. It's just warning us saying that, hey, you defined this variable, but you didn't use it. Okay? So, just like Python, we can perform some conditional logic on this object. That's pretty much what you're always going to be doing. You're going to be looking at the object and asking it questions about itself, okay? And when you ask that object questions about itself, you can determine what to do. So for example, let's say if, and the syntax is actually, my bad, I haven't really talked about syntax, okay? So just know that when we're declaring a JavaScript object, it has to have these curly braces, and then the values or the keys are going to be the name of the key that we want, a colon, and then afterwards the value. We can declare many key and value pairs, but they need to be separated by a comma. Okay, they need to be separated by a comma. I bet someone's going to mess this up. I just said it, okay? When you guys declare an object, it needs to be separated by a comma. All the keys and the values. Okay, so just a moment ago, I told you guys that in JavaScript world, or not JavaScript world, in all programming, right, there's this concept of an object. An object can represent anything, a class, a student, a program, etc. Anything, right? So right now, we're just going to pretend it's a class, okay? And we're going to constantly be asking these objects things about themselves. So we can say if, and the thing about JavaScript is that you have to have parentheses. When using a conditional, you have to have parentheses around your expression, okay? In Python world, you guys would do something like, just without parentheses. You guys also would not have curly braces. You guys would have indentation, okay? But with the JavaScript world, you have to have parentheses and you have to have curly braces. That's that's how we tell JavaScript like when the expression starts and ends, and when the code block starts and ends. There's no indentation. The indentation does not matter, but the curly braces and the parentheses do matter. Okay? So we're gonna start very simple right now, okay? We're gonna say console.log, hello, this is the El Captain class. Okay? We're gonna say console.log, hello, this is Fansipan. Okay, so can someone help me? I want line 10 to execute, okay? And I want us to look at our class. I want us to look at our class object that we defined on line 1. So I want this expression, the if expression is defined on line 7 through 11, to this conditional to print out line 10. It's just like Python, guys. What can we do here between these parentheses? Line 10. Hang, right? Hang. I want line 10 to execute. If my class.name, you think this will read it will read that right now? You guys can see in this tool right here, it's actually telling you. Right now, how our expression is written, line 10 or line 8 will execute. So for example, let's stick a false in here. If we stick a false in here, you guys notice that this is blue text right here. It's telling you that, like, hey, as the code is currently written, line 8 cannot execute, or line 10 will execute in this expression. Okay? If I change this to true, then we'll see that line 8 executes. Right? Does that make sense? Who here understands what I just said? Come on, someone please. So I want to see some more people raise their hands, please. Let's get active in class, guys. Come on, let's get active. Okay? I want line 10 to execute. How can I get line 10 to execute, G? I want to change one line of code. I want to see line 10 execute. How can we get line 10 to execute?
I think we will open the browser, web browser, and see in the
Yeah, that's besides the point right now. We're focusing on JavaScript, okay? Let's focus on JavaScript for a second. Right now, on line, do you see this green thing right here? This little green box right here? That's telling you that this line ran. This line ran right here. This line did not run. Line 10 did not run. How can we get line 10 to run? Someone help him out, guys. I want to add exactly one character. Okay? I want to add exactly one character. Yeah, someone tell me what line I can add it to. No, that's adding 5 characters. Okay? I want to add exactly one character. If 0? No, but I don't want to delete any characters either. I want to only add exactly one character and get line 10 to execute. Hang is right. We can use a bang. Okay, we can use a bang right there. And that bang will say, hey, what's the opposite of true? Then it has to be false, right? Okay? So right there on line 7, what is the opposite of true? Is false. Thus line 7 evaluates to false. Thus line 10 executes. Simple enough. And once again, I'm going to tell you right now, you have to have the curly braces. Okay? I don't know what else to tell you. If I delete this curly brace, we're going to see a bunch of red. Let's watch it. We see red everywhere, all down here. Okay, Quoku is telling us that our JavaScript code is bad. We need to do more. We need to be smarter. We need to follow the syntax. Okay? Oops, my bad. Okay, so once again, I told you guys that we're going to constantly be looking at our objects, right? And from looking at our objects, we can determine what to do, right? So in this case, we're not going to hard code a true or hard code a not true. Okay, that's just stupid. Okay, we're going to say, hey, our class dot name is not equal to Fansipan. If our class's name is not equal to Fansipan, then we'll see that, hello, this is the Fansipan class. Okay? There's many different ways to do this. Okay? We can say look at name. We can look at instructor. Okay? So if instructor is not equal to min, then this has to be Fansipan. Right? I want you guys to download this, man. I swear, I don't want to be an aggressive person, but if I walk over these tables and you guys don't have this tool download, I'm going to be very upset, personally upset. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to be funny, guys. Come on. I don't have any laughs. I feel a little nervous. Okay, so here's a basic instruction. Yeah, so just know that we're going to be dealing with objects, strings, conditionals. Okay, so let's go ahead and do something more interesting, okay? So once again, like I said a second ago when I demonstrated on Facebook, that like we're always going to be working with a list of something, right? So let's define a list of something new, okay? Let's say const animals, const monkeys equals an array, okay? And what kind of monkeys are there in the world? I know this is not a monkey, but I'm just going to call it because it's funny, okay? Gorilla. It's a primate if we want to be technical, okay? But I'm going to call it gorilla a monkey just because I'm allowed to do that. What other kind of monkeys do we have? We got a gorilla. We got a orangutan. Who said loy? G said that? Who called me a monkey?
No.
I didn't hear. We're missing one. We're missing a monkey right now, guys. I'm thinking. Hold on. We got a chimpanzee. There's one more. I can't think of it. A loy. Fuck it. We'll call it a loy. Okay. We got a loy monkey. Okay. Oscar works too.
Oscar in the movie.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so like in Python world, you guys would do something like this: for monkey in monkeys, blah blah blah, something like that, right? But in JavaScript world, we're not going to do that. Okay, we're going to look at our array, our variable. Actually, I'm sorry, guys. What is this thing right here? What is monkeys? Someone tell me in detail what this is. There could be 1,000 right answers. Okay, I want someone to tell me in detail. It's an array. What else is it? It's a variable, exactly. It's also constant. It could be many different things, guys. For example, I'm in this class, what am I? I'm an instructor. Maybe like a guest instructor. If I walk 2 doors down, I'm an instructor as well. If I go back to America, and go back to my family's house, I'm someone's brother. But I'm not anyone's brother here, right? I'm your brother in kinda. But I mean, we don't share parents, So I'm trying to tell you that, I want you guys, if I were to interview you, I don't even care what you guys tell me. Just tell me that you know something, Show me something that you guys know, right? So tell me that monkeys is an array, it's a variable, it contains some stuff. Okay, so that being said, when we want to run a loop over each element inside of our array in JavaScript world, we do something called a map, okay? Well, I mean, you can do a for loop as well, but it's not advisable. I would advise you not do that, okay? I'm just telling you, don't do that. Please just trust me. So, in JavaScript world, obviously, if I look at monkeys right here, you can see that Kwoku is telling us, hey, what's inside of it. But we're going to map over it, okay? And you guys can see that map is what, guys? What is map? It's a function. Thank you. Okay? So, functions take arguments. Fuck, man, I didn't even demonstrate this. Shit. God damn it. Okay, hold on. We're gonna pause for 1 second, okay? We're gonna write a couple functions real quick, okay? So I'm gonna write a function called say hello. And it's just gonna print, oh my bad. It's gonna console.log hello world. Okay? So we have a function, we define it here. In JavaScript world, we can say function, the name of our function, some parentheses, and the curly braces. Okay? That is the syntax that we have to use. We have to use that syntax. In Python world, you guys would do def something. Def say hello, and the same concept. I know this is kind of review for you guys, but I want you guys to know that the syntax is different. Okay? So in order to get this, we've defined, on line 10 through 12, we defined a function, okay? But if we want this function to execute, we have to call it. It's not gonna call itself. Your girlfriend is not going to call herself. You have to call her, okay? She'll never call herself. She'll call you have to call her, okay? So we're gonna call her. We say hello, and that, right now, we're not calling it. How can we call it? Yes, we need to use parentheses. That is how we call it, right there. And you guys will notice that in the bottom right here, that our function executed. Our console is telling us that it's executed right here, okay, because we did this. What if we called it twice? What would you guys expect to see down here? You'd see 2 hello worlds because we called it twice. And inside of this function, that's all we did was do console.log, right? That's all we did. Okay? So, just like in Python world, we can pass it arguments, okay? And one of the differences between JavaScript and Python is that JavaScript will ignore it if we do not pass an argument. So watch, let's see what happens. We type in name right here, and we save it. Oh, not save it, hold on. You say hello, and we call it. It does not complain. It does not throw an error. In Python world, I'm pretty sure this throws an error. Does it throw an error? Yeah. In Python world, if a function is expecting to take an argument and you do not pass it, it will throw an error and it cannot continue. But in JavaScript world, it can. Okay? And you guys will notice that if we say hello and name, that it says hello world undefined. Okay? So JavaScript accepts it when you call a function that does not have the argument passed to it. Okay? It just, that's just how it is. Okay, but what if we put a name in here? Then we can see that hello world prints and name right here is no longer undefined. Okay, that make sense, everyone? Guys, if I delete Lloyd right here, what are we going to see to the console.log? Lan, what are we going to see? If I delete Lloyd right now, what are we going to see down here?
Hello world.
And
Oh, you delete Lloyd, right?
yes, we're going to. We're really close. You're missing one part though. We're going to see hello world undefined. Right? Look at it. Why does it say hello world exclamation mark undefined? Because name is undefined. Why is name undefined?
Because we don't have a reference name.
Huh?
Put it in the function.
No, we have a name right here. It's in the function. We declare the variable right here.
When you call it.
Exactly. When we call the function, we do not pass it an argument. Thus, name right here is undefined. We didn't pass it. So there's no value that goes inside this variable name. Right? That makes sense? Okay, so actually one more thing I forgot. So additionally, we can use string interpolation inside of a JavaScript world, but its syntax is a little bit different. This is the best way. This is the way I would prefer you do it, okay? I want you guys to use backtits. I think in Python you guys do 3 quotes, right? Something like that, right? There's many different ways to do that. I'm sure you guys know that. We'll do hello, and then we'll do a $sign and curly braces. And inside of here, we'll stick our variables. So we can see hello name, print, and once again, name is undefined. So our console.logs, undefined. It says so right there. Well, once again, if we pass in a name, we say min, then we get hello world min, we get hello min. Does that make sense, guys? Okay? Additionally, in conjunction with JavaScript, accepting whenever we don't pass in the argument, we could pass in too many arguments. So we say hello class, for example. Does it work? Yes, it works. So JavaScript is actually not picky. You can put in too few arguments. You can also put in too many arguments. Right? So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and stick this in. I'm going to say, hey, this is our class. And then now we can stick in our class right here. Right? Fuck, I can't use this. My bad. You cannot use class because that is a special keyword. So we say class name. Say keyword. Just like you can never ever have a variable called function. Okay? You can never ever have a variable called const. You can never ever have a variable called let. And in a moment, you guys will never ever have a variable called fetch. We're going to be using that one. Okay, so yeah, there we go. All right, so let's get back to mapping. Let's go back to mapping. So we got some monkeys. Okay? So we just figured out how to define a function, right? And we have this thing called map right here, which is also a function. You guys can only ever call map on 2 different types of data, okay? You cannot call map on a string. You cannot call map on a variable. Here, let's just prove it. Const a number is equal to 1. Const a float. Oh my bad. What other data types do we have? A string is equal to hello world, right? Okay. So now, what if we try to call map on a number? A number.map is not a function. JavaScript is telling us that, like, hey man, you can't call map on a number. That's not allowed. We can do the same thing for a string. Right? Look at the error message it's giving us. A string.map is not a function. That means the data type string does not allow you to say .map on it. Okay? You guys will see in just a second that if we comment out line 15, that the error message is different. Oop, my bad. Okay, yeah, the error message is in fact different. The reason why you're not seeing them both at once is because line 12 already failed and you can't move forward. So what is the complaint here? It's saying a string.map is not a function. Basically, strings cannot be called map on. Okay? We're gonna comment this out, and then we can see that undefined is not a function. It's not saying monkeys.map is not a function. It's saying undefined is not a function. And what does that mean? That means that when we call map, the argument it expects, it always has to be a function. I never ever want to see you guys put a string in there. Okay? It's telling you right there, 1 is not a function, okay? What if we put an array in there? Array is not a function. What do we put an object in here? Object is not a function. So what is it expecting? A function, 100%. It's telling you right now it wants a function. So we're just going to put in a function right here, okay? Hi. There you go. Now all that red disappeared, right? All that red disappeared. It stopped complaining. That makes sense, guys? Okay? You can only ever put a function inside of here. Okay? So we're going to put a function inside there, say hi, and this is how the syntax you normally do it. And we're going to say console.log hi. So, just like in a Python's for loop, right? A for loop, whenever you call map, it's going to execute this function on each and every single element, right? So the first time we call map, when this function that is passed to our map function is executed, what is it going to be working with, guys? Huh? Say again? It's going to execute the function hi, right? But what is the first thing that we're going to deal with? It's going to be dealing with the first element, right? Remember if we had like for person in people, the first time it's execute, the first iteration, we're going to have a person, right? The first person in our list. I know it seems a little abstract, my bad. Okay, so just know, right now we stick a function in there, and then this function, when it's fired, it's going to be passed an argument. It's automatically going to be passed an argument for us, okay? And in this case, what does the argument represent? Huh? Okay, and what is the item inside this list? Is it a car? Is it a car? Is it a color? No, but what type of data is it?
The string inside.
I know it's a string. Or my bad. What does that data represent? A monkey. That's what it represents right there. Okay? The reason why I'm telling you this, guys, is I want you guys to pick good variable names. I will literally yell at you if you guys pick bad variable names. Who here has ever heard of Apple? Apple. You guys have all heard of Apple. This is a rhetorical question. Apple long variable names. I'm going to prove something to you, okay? It is. If you guys want to become good enough developers to go work at companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, these are the type of variables that you guys are going to be using. So if you guys get good enough to write source code that works on an Apple iPhone, this is how long your variable is going to be. 64 characters long. And here's just some of them. So don't ever get scared of writing long variable names, long function names. Because if you look through the source code of the iOS operating system, these are variable names that you run across right here, right? Because we need our variable names to be very descriptive of what's going on inside of it, okay? You guys, I'm just advising you because I've seen this happen so many times. Everyone wants to write short code, right? But do not write short code at the expense of understanding what the code does. Okay, do not do that. If you write code that's short because it's sexy or whatever and it looks good, but you can't understand what it does, that's probably worse. I'm telling you, it's probably worse. And once again, Apple, look how long this is. Look how long that is. Someone wrote a variable name that's that long at Apple. That's fucking crazy, right? Right? But just know that these variable names are inside of the operating system for longest Cocoa, and this is just something for building iOS apps. Just know that, okay? So don't get scared of using it. I want you guys to tell me, by reading your functions, we should know what's inside of it. I don't know how to say that. So, okay, moving forward, when we call map, we have to pass it a function. Okay, we have to pass it a function, and when this function is fired, it's going to be passed an element. Okay, and that element is going to be what? It's going to be one item inside of our array. Okay, so we're going to say hi, monkey. So we can see that the first time, so that we can see that lines 10 through 12 is doing what? What's line 10 through 12 doing, guys?
Oh wait, why the function monkey still have when you call the name just monkeys, doesn't have the S.
Because monkey right here this represents a single element. It represents gorilla or orangutan or chimpanzee or loy. Monkeys right here at the beginning of line 10 represents the entire array. This thing right here from the opening bracket to the closing bracket. So right here, so all you can do is just think about this right here. We'll delete this, and we're just saying, hey, this array right here, map over it. And the behavior is exactly the same. But that's actually much more difficult to read, right? So once again, let's look at a better example. My bad, right? So let's just say we could do something like red, white, blue. We just call map on this if we wanted. We'll say function, show color, and that has remember the syntax, it has to have keyword function, the name of the function, parentheses, and curly braces. And we do a console.log, hello, or this is my color, right? But once again, guys, when you map over a function, or if you map over an array and you're looking at each element, if you do not look at the element, I don't know why you're mapping over it. It doesn't make any sense, right? If this works, right? This does not make any sense. Why are we going to map over an array of elements and then not look at it, right? So we need to capture it. So just know that this thing that I'm about to do right now, right? Think about this very carefully. What I'm about to type is we're capturing that element and we're going to hold on to it for just one iteration. We hold on to it for a second, we use it, and then on the next iteration, that thing changes, right? So I'm going to capture it. What's inside of here? What are these things? Obviously, they're strings, right? But additionally, they're colors. And each one is a specific color. So we're capturing that element, and we're just going to use it in just a moment. So we captured it. I'm sorry I repeat myself a lot. I feel like a high school football coach. And we paste it right there. So we captured the color, an individual element inside of our array, and then we printed it to the screen. Right? Is that clear? Okay. So we covered string concatenation, functions, mapping, objects, conditionals, booleans. What else? What else do we need to cover? Michael, what else do we need to cover, man? I forgot. Ajax. We're gonna do that in just a moment. Don't worry. That's the. Holy shit! Is it 10:30? Holy fuck! I gotta get going. Okay, my bad. We gotta get going on this. Let's get to it. So we're gonna go over to our index.html. We're gonna move quickly. Please stop me if you have any questions. Okay. So let's go ahead and close these. My bad. Shit, dude. Oh my god. So once again, we get a whole bunch of free methods, okay? So one of the free things that we get in JavaScript world is called document, or not JavaScript, from our browsers, document.getElement by tag name, and we're gonna specify a tag, h1. So we did in fact find it. So just know that document right here is an object. Inside the object, there's a key called getElements by tag name, and that key holds a value, and that value is of type. What's inside of getElements by tag name? What data type?
String.
Nope. Nope. It's a function. What's inside of getElements by ID is a function, and we're gonna call that function. And when we call that function, we need to pass it an argument, specifically the tag that we want to get. Okay? So we call it, and our value right here was found. Okay? What did it get back to us? It gave us back in an array, I think. Let me test it. And we did in fact find it. It gave us back an array. We looked on our page for anything that was an H1, and it gave us back an array that only contained one thing. So once we do that, we can do something called inner HTML, and we can say is equal to demonstrate document for class. If I hit enter, I expect Google News up here to change. And we did in fact change it. So just know this is how we're going to update our UI, and we're going to get all types of sexy behavior, okay? So let's go ahead and move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that I've downloaded this tool, and I expect you, oh my bad, not PostgreSQL. I've downloaded this tool called Postman, and this is a critical tool for doing your work, okay? Critical. So I've already read the documentation for you. Just know that we can call an API. We can get data from an API using this thing called Postman. And maybe I'll talk in more detail about this afternoon, right? But I want to get this app done. So this tool is used to test APIs, okay? We can punch in a URL and pass it some variables, and then we can click send. If we click send, we can see what our API responded with. Responded with some data. This is all the data right here. And this is just JSON, okay? It's very similar to JavaScript objects, but it's not exactly the same. It's a status code of 200, okay? So in a moment, we're gonna use JavaScript to call this API. We're gonna get that data and we're gonna stick it on the screen, okay? So a few moments ago, when class first started, we got what? We got the script to fire, right? Now we're gonna do, below our H1, we're gonna have a UL. Come on, okay? We have a UL, and we need to target this in a few moments. So we're gonna apply an ID to this. We're gonna say news list. Okay, we're gonna give it an ID. We save it as news list. Okay, so right now we gotta figure out how to get some data from this API. So and I'm gonna tell you how to do it. We're not gonna kind of figure it out. We're going to do it. Okay, so we're gonna define a new function called get news. Okay, that's it. That's the simplest it can go, right? And we're gonna need to fetch some data from this API. So we're gonna say fetch, we're gonna call a function called fetch, and we're gonna pass it an argument. This argument is a string. And once again, like I said, I've already tested this for you. This is the URL right here, okay? We're gonna pass that in there, okay? So we're gonna stick what comes back inside of here, inside of a function called go. I always call it go because I'm being lazy. I wanna make sure it works before I pick a better name. After this executes, I'm gonna just console log it, okay? I'm gonna say hi, blah, 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 go. Okay, so if I refresh and go back to our page, where's it at again? Right here. We refresh. Why don't we see this console log, guys? Let's think about this. Remember a second ago, right? We do console.log, Fansipan. We save it. We see Fansipan fired right here. But why do we not see this console log on line 5? Yes, we need to call the function. Very simple. We save it, and bam, this fires. So you guys will see that we have a new problem. There's something right here called a promise. Basically, it means that like it took a second to get this data, and this is a different type of data type. It's called a promise. It's saying, hey, I don't have this data yet, but I promise you I'll give it to you later as soon as I get it. So we need to fix this. And by fixing this, we need to know two special keywords called async. And we stick this at the beginning of our function declaration to say that this function is asynchronous. It takes some time. So I need to handle this carefully. I need to handle this differently than I would handle my other functions. So in order to do that, we just stick async in front of the function declaration. And additionally, after we do that, that is not enough. We need to use its companion keyword, which is await. So basically that says that, hey, this function that we called fetch, this is gonna take a second. So please wait a second and then until moving forward, okay? Just basically know that fetch right here, despite the fact that it happens in like a fraction of a second, I'm talking about like 20 milliseconds or something like that, it did take some time, right? So when we put await on line 4, we're saying, hey, JavaScript, on line 4, I know that you can execute very quickly, but please wait a second until fetch is done to move forward to line 5, okay? That makes sense, guys? Please wait a second to move forward to line 5. Because know that your computer, it can make hundreds of thousands of computations in a second, right? The time it takes to move from line 4 to 5 is just like unimaginable. A human brain cannot understand how quickly that is moving, okay? But it did take some time. So we do a wait and we save it, and then we got what we wanted. Damn. Notice that this error went away. And now what is this, guys? What data type is this? It's an object. Just in case you guys don't know, just in case you ever don't know what something is, you can do type of, okay? This is another special keyword right here. If I save it, I expect it to say object down here, okay? Let's save it, and we see that it is in fact an object. Okay, so that works. So let's go ahead and rename our variable. We're not gonna call it go, we're gonna call it response. Call it res, okay? And we're not done with res yet, okay? We need to do more. So we're going to do something called const data. We're going to stick this inside of here so it's easier to reason about. We're going to say response.json. This is just an additional step. And we also need to await this one. I don't know why. Someone decided that we needed to await it, okay? And we're just gonna console.log our data. I did something wrong. Why is it not working? What's... Why is it not working? I'm confused, guys. This is console.log response. Response right here.
Do we need a comment?
A comment where? Why is it saying uncaught promise? Const data is equal to await JSON. What the fuck? Okay, we gotta await this. Okay, let me try this again. Sometimes my computer trips out. I gotta restart the server. I expect that to happen to you guys too.
You only get the response variable after line 4, right? So we don't need to await again.
I don't think that's what the issue is. Because think about it. Okay, so just know there's an additional step, and once after you get our data, we need to parse it. This is an object. Inside of it, it has some stuff that we need. Okay, it has some stuff that we need. But in order to get that, we need to call .json on it. Say again, what do you want me to do? I expect this to work. Why is this not working? Uncaught promise, unexpected scripts. Line 8. It's complaining about line 8 right here.
I think you should put HTTP columns //
Okay, thank you, man. Thank you. I was thinking that. Okay, so once again, guys, what is data right here, guys? Come on. What is data? What's inside of here? An object. And remember what we talked about at the beginning class, man. Like we almost always don't want the whole object. We just need to look at one thing inside of it. Okay? So we're gonna look at data as an object. We're gonna look at one thing inside of it. Let's open up this object. And what are we looking at? Are we looking at the status? Probably, maybe, but not particularly right now. Okay? We're looking at articles. So we're gonna say, hey, we're gonna say data.articles, and now we need to do something. So this is an array, guys. What did we just talk about a second ago with our monkeys? When we have an array, we can execute something on all of them, right? So we can do data.articles.map, and we can call it. And once again, we're gonna pass a function here, okay? So we're gonna define a function above it. We're gonna say function render single article, okay? And when this is called, remember, it's gonna take an article, okay? So we're gonna say article right here, and we're just gonna call this. So when this fires, we're just going to return for right now, hello, okay? We're gonna say hello. No, I'm not gonna do that, this is stupid, this is obvious, okay? We're gonna say return. Fuck, I'm doing too many things at once right now, okay? 1 second, let me just draw something on the screen, okay? So we're gonna say articles HTML equals this thing right here. So basically know that, my bad, I'm a little confused right now. We're gonna define the function. When this function is fired, it's gonna be passed an article, and we need to return something. So we're gonna return the article.title, okay? We can keep it very simple right now, okay? So we're gonna collect all the titles from each articles inside this variable called articles.html. Lastly, we're gonna use that one thing that we called earlier, called document.getElement by ID. And which element are we looking for, guys? Which one where do we want to stick these news articles? Do you want to stick inside of line 18? Where do we want to stick it? News list, correct, thank you. I'm sorry if I'm ignoring some people, it's because you guys answer too much. So we're going to stick this inside of our news list HTML, and we're going to say, hey, we're going to stick the articles.html there. But there's one more step. Okay, there's one more step. If we do this right now, we're going to see a bunch of objects drawn on the screen because we did not format it correctly, or we did not join it correctly. So we're going to save it. Oops, I did something wrong here. Yes, .inner HTML, thank you. Save. Oops. My bad, I actually didn't do that correctly. The reason I didn't do that correctly is because we did in fact return a string. So we do this right here. We're going to see a bunch of objects stuck in right here. Okay? But we don't want that. We want a bunch of, we want to parse the objects, okay? So inside of line 4, instead of returning just the article, we need to do some string concatenation, okay? So we're going to do what we did a second ago. We're going to say, hey, give me an li element, and inside of here, we're going to do article. Okay, my bad. Let's clear this. And then we're going to say, hey, inside this li element, we're going to do an h1. And inside of here, we're going to say, hey, here's my article.title. Okay? So we save it. We can see that now we've been able to get the title. We got the title from this API, and we're rendering it to the screen. Okay? Obviously, we're going to be doing more than just the h1, right? We're going to be, or the title, right? We're going to do article.title, article.description. We're going to get more right here. And then we're going to use one more thing, okay? We're going to do something. We're going to use moment. Yes. We're going to call moment, and we're going to pass the article dot. I honestly don't remember. So here's something I don't ever remember how to do correctly. The truth is I don't remember how to do this correctly. Or my bad. Here's a pro tip, okay? I want you guys to always console.log the object, okay? Console.log it so you can remember the keys. No one remembers all the keys. So we do that. Each article, when it's rendered, right? Whenever we map over it, it's going to print out. So now we can look at the keys. So we can see that inside of this, we have a publish that date, okay? So we can do article.publish that. So we're going to use this in just a moment. So we're going to do, I don't know, P, and then we're going to use some more string concatenation. We're going to call moment. And we're going to pass it that date. And then we're going to do format. We're going to call format. So basically, we called an object. We called a function called moment. We passed it an argument, which is the date. And then whatever came back to us was an object, and we called another key on it, which is format. So we'll go back to our documentation. Moment, JS. Go back to the documentation. We'll just decide one. We'll just pick one that we like, okay? There's a million different ones of these, okay? I'm just going to choose one I like. Because I'm the captain today. I can choose whatever I can do whatever I want to do. I like this one. So I'm just gonna copy format over here, save it, or copy it. We're just gonna replace this. Actually, my bad. Let me go ahead and do it the first way so you guys can see what's gonna happen. Okay. So go back over here. Oh shit, where'd it go? Did I close it? Fuck. Okay, we see this date is unreadable. It's kind of readable if you're a machine. Okay? But we're not machines, we're humans. So we need to format this correctly. So that's basically what we're doing right here, okay? We save it and notice how the date changes. Does that make sense, guys? We're using a publicly available library to format our dates correctly. Okay, that's all we did right there. And lastly, we're just gonna look at our image. I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit late today. So once again, there are 1,000. I would not be surprised if there's at least 1,000 HTML tags, types of HTML tags in the world. But right now, we're gonna use an image tag, okay? And inside this image tag, we have to pass it an attribute. If we do not pass it an attribute, it's not gonna work. And the attribute that we need to pass it is called source. And inside of here, we're gonna stick in something. And I don't remember what we're supposed to stick in. Well, we're supposed to stick in a path. I do know what we need to stick in, right? But I don't know where it is, okay? So we need to stick in a path so that this image can render correctly, right? But I don't remember the key. So thank God on line 4, we console.log this object. Oh shit, we didn't do that, fuck. Okay, thank God we console.log this object. So now we can look at it. We'll jump back over to our browser. We'll open up this console, and we realize that we made a mistake somewhere. So just go ahead and delete this.
There is no closing tag for image.
Say again?
The image tag is the self-closing tag.
Yes. I was scared I was going to fuck it up for some reason. Okay, so the key is called URL to image, okay? So let's go ahead and fix this. And he's right, an image tag does not have children. Actually, that's not 100% right either, to be honest with you. What if you wanted to have text inside the image, right? So for example, like the one that I did right here. If I wanted to have text inside the image, then I would not self-close. What Jung just said is that if an element does not have a child, then you can close it on the same tag, right? But if you want it to have a child, right? For example, like this, so that you can stick in some text, hello, or something like that, then you don't have to self-close it, okay? But sometimes you will self-close it. But for example, in my case, this case right here, I did not want to self-close it because I wanted to stick the text inside of the image, okay? So whatever. Right now, we're just gonna do it this way because this also works. So we're gonna paste in article.url to image, okay? We'll go back over here, and now we can see that we got this data and we printed it to the screen. Sexy. Nice. Okay, so let's quickly review. What time do you guys normally break for lunch? What time do you guys normally break for lunch? 12? Okay. All right, so what have we done so far? Let's review, guys. Let's review, okay? Let's go ahead and clean up our code a little bit, delete some of the stuff we don't need. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so basically with what? So just know that with 19 lines of code that we implemented a dynamic website that as soon as our application loads, it makes a request in the API, it gets that data from the API, it parses it. And parsing means here, it just means like translating. It kind of means translating. It translated that into some HTML and then we stuck it on the screen, okay? That happened in 19 lines of code, right here. I want you guys to do this, and if you guys do it well, by the end of the class, I'm going to show you 20 different ways you can write this function, okay? I've already written it. There's 20 different ways you can write the same function. It does the exact same thing, okay? So just know that there's 19 lines of code I want you guys to implement. And on top, obviously, every single day we come to class, we're reviewing, right? I want you guys to make this look kind of beautiful, okay? Stick it in an icon, pick some colors. You guys are expected to do that, right? If you guys go apply for a job and you show them something like this, they're probably not going to hire you. I'm telling you that right now. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I'm guessing someone is not going to hire you if you show them something like this. This is something you could do in what, 30 minutes? How long did it take us? 30 minutes? I was talking to you guys, making jokes. Okay, so guys, please. Okay, my bad. Let me show you one more thing. Okay, I forgot to show you this. Okay, so you know how a second ago I said we imported Bootstrap? Let's go ahead and use Bootstrap, okay? So if you open up Discord, you guys can see that I linked you guys to the documentation. What's really important to think about right now is that there are many different versions of Bootstrap. In this case, we're using version 4.3.1, okay? If I change this number and then I look at this documentation that shows 4.3, will it work? Just think about this. Just think about it. If I stick this into 1, right? If I made a 1 right here, can I look at this documentation right here? No, I cannot. Okay? There are many different versions of Bootstrap, and there are many different versions available on the internet. If we're using version 4.3.1, make sure we look at the documentation for version 4.3. Okay? Because the names of the classes are different, the behavior is different, it's a whole bunch of different stuff. Okay? Yesterday we spent a lot of time working on a nav bar. Okay? I'm going to show you how easy it is to make a nav bar using Bootstrap. I click over here. I'm just going to copy right here, jump back to HTML, index.html. I'm going to put it at the top. Save, jump back over to our application, and bam, we got a sexy nav bar. Okay? This is what I call copy-driven development. Okay? Copy-driven development. Okay? There's nothing wrong with this. The best developers I know do this, okay? You copy it and then you fiddle with it a little bit and you make it look different, right? So for example, we see navbar up here. Okay? So we're going to go back and we're going to change it. We're going to call it Google News. Okay? And now we can see that this is Google News. Obviously, there are many, many other components you guys can use. So for example, we can have a Jumbotron. We can copy this. For example, we want to stick this above our Google News. Now we're going to have a Jumbotron up front. Oops, I did that wrong. I stuck in the wrong place, my bad. We'll put this above our Google News. And there we go, we got a Jumbotron. okay? And it looks sexy. It's already got some beautiful styling and whatnot, okay? I want you guys to fiddle with this, okay? Like, one of the best skills that you guys can have as a developer is to copy code and know where to paste it and know what to change, okay? People say that, like, I've seen this meme before that basically said this, like, everyone says that copying is bad. You shouldn't do that. But yes, that's true. But knowing what to copy and where to paste and what you can delete and what you can add is a highly sought after skill. Okay, that's what your job is, to copy the correct code and paste it in the right place. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with going to the documentation and looking at examples and just clicking this button right here. That's why they gave you that button, because they want you to copy it. I'm telling you, I don't like saying this word often, and I don't like calling my students this, because I really want it to mean something. If you guys try to type this yourselves instead of clicking this button and pasting it, I'm going to say that you're being really, really dumb. Okay? There's a reason why this button is here, because they want you to copy it. If you guys try to type this up, I guarantee you guys typo it. I guarantee it. It's impossible to not typo here. It's not impossible, okay? I want to say things that are true for class, okay? It is possible, but you probably are going to typo. So click that button and then paste it over here. Okay? This is how you're going to build all your applications in the future. All your web applications. Okay, so today what did we do, guys? We imported Bootstrap. We imported Moment.js. We used JavaScript. We also imported our custom JavaScript, script.js file. We defined 2 functions. One of these functions was an asynchronous function. The reason why it was an asynchronous function is because the behavior that this function implements takes some time. Which line for the get news function takes some time, guys? G? Which line takes time? Oh, just weren't listening, okay? On line 12, we define a function called getNews, right? This function is going to do something that takes time. What is it that's taking time? Fetching data from the API took some time, okay? Like this is super abstract, a million miles up, but it takes time for data to go through these wires, okay? To go from our computer to the router, for that router to go to the cable modem, from the cable modem to go through the internet, and just find that data for us. It takes some time, okay? So that's why we have to have this asynchronous word right here. And it's companion keyword await. So the get news function defined on lines 12 through 17 takes some time. Thus we make it asynchronous. And then additionally, the second function that we defined is called render single article, okay? And the reason why we define a function is because basically for each and every single news article, we want to produce what? What are we producing here, guys? We are producing an article, but what is line 2 through 9 producing? So the reason why we define this render single article function is because we're going to pass that function to map. Okay? Map is going to fire that function for each and every single article in our array, our data array, or our data.articles array. When it fires that function, we're going to take a single article and we're going to produce some HTML. Okay? That's all we did on lines 2 through 9. We say, hey, take this object and make some HTML. Make some HTML. The very next line on line 16, we take that HTML and we stick it on the screen. I hope this code is clear. That's why I called it articles.html. Because it's producing HTML. That right there, that's HTML, right? Okay? So just know we call it a map function and we pass it its required function. And all that did was just produce a bunch of HTML. And then we took that HTML and we stuck it on the screen. Okay? So that's a high level overview. We did JavaScript in about an hour and a half. You guys should be pro by now. Let's do this one, and then this afternoon, like I said, we're gonna. I can write any function to you. I just know that my last class, it's quite a bit of confusion. When you guys read documentation, you see 20 different ways. You're probably gonna see a million different ways to write a function. I'm gonna show you 20 to write the exact same function. Okay? So I guess there you guys go. We're gonna break. Okay? Please tell me I was recording. Okay, I was recording. God damn it. No.